What if everything we've been taught is just the tip of the iceberg? What if, beneath the polished surface of official science, lies knowledge so dangerous it's been silenced? Today, you'll uncover 7 theories that are rejected by the academic world. Not because they're false, but because they're too dangerous. Theory 1. Children who remember past lives. What if your 3-year-old son tells you he was killed in another life? He gives you a name, a town, a date of death, and begs to go back to his old family. Millions of parents around the world have faced this and didn't know what to do. One of the most famous cases is James Leininger from the US. As a child, he was terrified of airplanes and said he died in a burning fighter jet. He knew the model of the plane, the name of the aircraft carrier, even the names of his former squadron mates. His memories matched military archives from World War II. His former self was named James Houston, a pilot killed over Iwo Jima. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, dedicated decades to studying such cases. He documented over 2,500 stories of children who recalled lives of people they'd never met. In some cases, the children had birthmarks or deformities that matched wounds from their supposed past deaths. One boy in India was born without a finger and claimed he had been shot in that exact spot in a past life. He said he was a merchant who'd been murdered. Local archives confirmed such a man had been killed, and the wound matched the boy's deformity. Dr. Jim Tucker, who continued Stevenson's work, used strict scientific methods: interviews, fact-checking, independent verification. In most cases, the children forget their past lives after age 7. These aren't obsessive fantasies. They resemble a natural phase that fades as the current personality forms. And yet, despite the scale and compelling data, mainstream science largely ignores the topic. Why? Because if these memories are real, then consciousness doesn't die with the body. Death isn't the end. It's a transition. And that challenges the core materialist model that modern psychology and biology are built upon. Theory 2. Morphic fields, memory outside the brain. Why are forms in nature so stable? Why do crystals of the same type always grow into identical patterns? Why do newborn animals know how to do things they've never been taught? British biologist Rupert Sheldrake proposed a hypothesis that could shatter the foundations of biology. Behavior, memory, and form are not genetically encoded, but shaped by invisible fields, morphic fields, carrying the memory of the species' past experiences. According to his theory, if one group of individuals learns a new behavior, others of the same species, even on the other side of the world, will find it easier to learn the same thing. And he claimed this could be proven experimentally. In the 1920s, British researchers observed that certain birds, tits, had learned to peck open the lids of milk bottles. Soon, tits across the entire country began doing the same, even in places where the behavior had never been observed before. The speed of this spread defied explanation through migration or imitation. Sheldrake believed this was the result of a morphic field, a kind of collective memory of the species. He went further. In lab experiments with rats, each new generation solved mazes faster than the last, even when raised in isolation. Scientists called it genetics. Sheldrake said no. The information was written into the morphic field, transmitted through the air, beyond the body. He even proposed that human memory might not reside in the brain, but outside of it, and the brain merely acts as a receiver, like a radio. This could explain phenomena like déjà vu, telepathy, or collective intuition. The scientific establishment reacted harshly. Sheldrake was labeled a heretic, accused of pseudoscience, and blacklisted from major journals. But no one managed to disprove his observations. Accepting the existence of an invisible informational field would mean admitting that nature is far more aware than we thought, and that life has a memory extending beyond DNA. Theory 3. Consciousness outside the body, near-death experiences. Can a person see, hear, and remember when their brain is completely shut down? People across the world report leaving their bodies during clinical death. They describe doctors, medical equipment, conversations in the operating room in precise detail. Some say they floated near the ceiling, watching from above as their body lay lifeless. Later, they shared exact accounts of things they couldn't possibly perceive with a non-functioning brain. Dr. Raymond Moody was the first to systematically study this phenomenon in his book Life After Life, gathering hundreds of testimonies from near-death survivors. Later, Dr. Sam Parnia conducted large-scale studies in hospitals. In one experiment, hidden images were placed on high shelves in operating rooms, visible only from above. There were documented cases of patients correctly describing the images, yet their brains were flatlined. According to neuroscience, there should be no awareness in clinical death. But something remained, and it remembered. One patient recalled hearing a doctor say, "We're losing him." At the exact moment his EEG showed a flat line. Another met deceased relatives he never knew, and later recognized them in old family photos. These experiences weren't dreams or hallucinations. People said they felt more alive than ever, just not in their bodies. Science dismisses this as brain chemistry. Endorphins, oxygen deprivation, last-ditch illusions. But then why are the memories clear? Why do patients return with knowledge they couldn't have known? These questions are ignored, because admitting that consciousness can exist outside the brain means admitting it's not created by the brain. And if consciousness survives death, then death isn't the end, it's a threshold. And beyond it, the journey continues. Theory 4. Consciousness is the foundation of reality. What if everything around you isn't solid matter, but a projection of consciousness? We've been taught to believe that consciousness arises inside the brain, like light from a lamp. But more and more scientists, philosophers, and physicists argue the opposite. Consciousness isn't a product of matter, it's the source. Everything else emerges from it. Matter is just an illusion, like computer graphics rendered by an unseen code. Quantum physics has long known the paradox of the observer. An electron behaves either like a particle or a wave, depending on whether it's being watched. That means the act of perception changes physical reality. This isn't philosophy, it's experiment. The famous double-slit experiment shows that when no one is observing, particles exist in a field of probability. But as soon as an observer appears, they collapse into a fixed form. Conclusion? Consciousness helps shape reality. Without it, there is no stable matter. Philosopher Bernardo Kastrup proposes an idealist model. Consciousness is the ocean, and individual minds are whirlpools within it. Physicist Donald Hoffman says our reality is just a user interface, a simplified version of something far deeper. We don't perceive what's real, but what we need to survive. Just like an icon on a screen doesn't look like the real file it represents. Physicist Thomas Campbell, in his theory, My Big Toe, Theory of Everything, describes the universe as an information system where consciousness is the engine of evolution. Matter is a dense dream. We're inside a simulation designed to foster awareness, compassion, growth. All the solid stuff? Just symbols. If consciousness is primary, then everything is energy, perception, and information. The line between self and world disappears. We're not just observers, we're co-creators of reality. This idea erases the boundary between science, spirituality, and mysticism. Not because it's mystical, but because it's fundamental. Science isn't ready to accept it, because to do so would mean admitting the entire universe is a mind watching itself. Theory 5. PSI phenomena, telepathy, psychokinesis, and the power of mind. Can thoughts transmit information? Can the mind move objects? Sounds like fiction. But over the last century, thousands of experiments suggest PSI phenomena are real. They're just not welcome in mainstream science. In the mid-20th century, the CIA and US Department of Defense ran secret programs like Stargate, studying remote viewing, where people describe distant locations or events in real time. One participant, Ingo Swann, accurately described structures on the moon, years before satellites confirmed them. Meanwhile, researchers like Joseph Banks Rhine conducted controlled lab tests on telepathy and psychokinesis. The statistics showed people could guess symbols, influence random number generators, and perceive another's emotional state. Physicist Dean Radin analyzed hundreds of studies and found results too consistent to be random. He claims human consciousness interacts with physical reality directly, bypassing the five senses. In one stunning experiment, people were shown random images, horrific, neutral, or pleasant, but their bodies reacted before the image appeared. Heart rate, skin conductivity, even pupil dilation, all changed seconds ahead of time. Scientists call it presentiment. It suggests we can sense events before they happen. The problem is, these phenomena don't fit into the academic model. You can't explain them with neurotransmitters or Newtonian laws, so they're dismissed as error, placebo, or data noise. But when the noise repeats across labs with identical patterns, it's not noise. It's a new kind of physics. One where consciousness isn't just aware, it's causal. And that's why PSI phenomena remain one of the most taboo subjects in science. Because if they're real, everything we know about being human is just the beginning. Theory 6. We're living in a simulation. What if everything you see, hear, and feel isn't real? Not metaphorically, literally. The simulation theory is one of the most provocative ideas in modern science. Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that if a civilization can create simulations containing conscious beings, and does so on a large scale, then the chances we're in the original reality are close to zero. We're almost certainly inside a simulation. And this isn't just philosophy. Many physicists and engineers take it seriously. Physicist John Wheeler famously said, "Everything is information. What we call matter is just a digital structure. Atoms aren't tiny solid balls. They're blips of probability. Space and time aren't absolute. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition until someone observes them. That's eerily similar to how objects in video games are rendered only when you look at them. Otherwise, the system saves processing power." Researchers at MIT and Cambridge have discussed the hypothesis that the universe operates like a computational simulation. Its pixels are Planck lengths. Its refresh rate is measured in quantum transitions. Even the odd constraints of physics, like the speed of light or discrete energy states, might be signs of processing limits, like bugs in the code. Which leads to the big question: who launched the simulation, and why? Maybe it's a hyper-advanced civilization, or a collective consciousness, or maybe it's you from a higher plane. Mystical traditions have long whispered, the world is illusion. Life is a dream. Coincidence? The simulation theory doesn't remove meaning, it adds it. If everything is a training program, then every emotion, meeting, and challenge is part of a carefully written code for your growth. You're not just a participant, you're a player, capable of waking up inside the game, and perhaps rewriting its rules. Theory 7. Your soul chose this life before birth. What if your life isn't random? What if you chose your body, your parents, your country, even your struggles before you were born? Sounds insane? Yet thousands of people under hypnosis or in deep meditation describe the same thing. A space beyond time, where, as souls, they met with guides to plan their next life. They chose key events, major lessons, even alternative paths. This is known as pre-birth planning. Psychotherapist Michael Newton conducted over 7,000 regression sessions where patients recalled not just past lives, but the space between them. They described soul councils, spiritual mentors, contracts with future parents. One patient remembered choosing between a life of wealth with spiritual isolation and a life of poverty with real love, and chose the latter. Others claimed to have accepted illness, loss, even disability, for the sake of the soul's growth. These accounts align eerily with traditions from across the world. Tibetan Buddhists speak of the bardo, the in-between state where the soul prepares for reincarnation. The Greeks spoke of the river Lethe, whose waters cause forgetfulness before returning to earth. And modern children sometimes say strange things like, "I picked you to be my mom," or "When I was big and you were small." But if the soul chooses life, what about tragedy, violence, injustice? The answer is both simple and unsettling. The soul doesn't seek comfort, but experience. Even the darkest moments may be crucial turning points for spiritual evolution. This isn't a justification for suffering. It's a shift in perspective. A view from beyond the veil. Science brushes this aside. It can't be tested. It can't be measured. But independent testimonies keep saying the same thing. And if they're true, then you're not a victim of fate. You're a traveler here on purpose, and every event is not random, but a step on your path. Where that path leads, only you decide. Conclusion. The world is far deeper than science dares to admit, but truth doesn't vanish. It waits. It waits for the moment when we're ready to see it. Which of these theories felt the most convincing to you, or the most unsettling? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to dive deeper into the unknown, subscribe. This is only the beginning.